Have you heard? It's truck news.
No! No!
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck. 'Cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel, electricity, and on gasoline. The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show. Oh, oh.
It's the Truck Show with your host, Holman.
The Truck Show podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors. AMSOIL launched the industry's first synthetic motor oil back in 1972, and AMSOIL continues to innovate with a wide selection of synthetics that are formulated, blended, and packaged right here in the United States. These specialized lubricants are engineered for what you drive and how you drive. AMSOIL's Shop by Vehicle tool offers package size recommendations to maximize savings and includes AMSOIL's Ultimate Oil Change Kits. AMSOIL offers the protection you demand and the performance you deserve. Get yours today at AMSOIL.com. The perfect complement to your truck is a Kershaw knife. All Kershaw knives come with a limited lifetime warranty, and repair parts are readily available through the website. Kershaw knives include lifetime sharpening, and the lineup has everything from EDC knives that can be used and abused for under $50 all the way up to high-end collectibles. Thanks to our generous partnership with Kershaw Knives, Truck Show podcast listeners can get 40% off MSRP and free shipping over $50 by using the code 2540TSP now going forward. It can be used more than once and even includes automatics. Visit kershaw.kaiusa.com today. UAM Pistons is one of the few companies that's been in business for over 100 years. Founded in 1922, UEM continues on today, owned and run by the fourth generation of the family that founded them. We especially like the company's dual-oil line of diesel pistons, which are cast and machined in-house to maintain the highest level of quality and consistency. Dual-oil pistons are available for most popular diesel light and medium-duty trucks, and you can find your diesel replacement pistons today at uempistons.com. When it comes to amazing vehicle-based adventure content, how-tos, and great storytelling, only one brand is doing it right in the print magazine space, and that's OVR, Outdoor Vehicle Recreation. OVR is about getting out there in our vehicles to explore and discover the world around us. Get complimentary access for a year to the digital library or a discount on your print subscription today at ovrmag.com. Use the promotional code at Truck Show Podcast.
The Truck Show podcast survives off of sponsorships and your reviews. Please help me to keep it free by supporting our sponsors and leaving reviews and comments on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Have you heard?
No.
Well, then let's get into it because we got a whole lot of news for you. Well, Nissan just jumped into the pool of automotive news with a giant cannonball, and that's the 2026 Nissan Armada Nismo. And if you love the Armada, which I do, great platform, fantastic vehicle, so good, off-road version Pro 4X, and you thought to yourself, you know, it would be cool to have one that's a little bit more, let's say, performance-centric, sportier, and you want it to be a little louder, not so subtle in the details. Well, you may have just found your Armada in the new Nismo. So what they did was they took the Armada and they put some unique styling touches. So it's got a body kit on it. You can get the really cool signature stealth gray paint with red accents, just like the other Nismo offerings. And then the front fascia has been tweaked. It's got its own fender flares, rear spoiler. It also gets LED fog lights and 22-inch wheels wrapped in more high-performance rubber. Of course, they're still all-season tires. And there's also a sportier rear bumper as well. So it's the same 121-inch wheelbase, but it's actually a little bit longer overall, just over an inch, because of the exterior design changes. And then at ride height, it sits a little bit lower than the standard ones. They can still raise with the air suspension. So now it's 8.9 inches of ground clearance, bumping up to 10.9, whereas a Pro 4X, for example, 9.6, and then up to 11.6 inches. Gets the black roof, and then you'll be able to order it again in that stealth gray. I believe that's the same color that's on the Z, which is really cool. And then black diamond pearl or Everest white. So those are the 3 color choices with or without a blacked out roof. I think the blacked out roofs are cool. People in Arizona might feel different. So what's under the hood? So they took the exceptional 425 horse, 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, and they bumped it up 35 horsepower from stock. So that requires you to run premium fuel, which the Armada itself does not require. It has the same torque as before, so that's 516 pound-feet, and it also has the 9-speed automatic transmission. You also get retuned exhaust. It's supposed to sound more just throaty, I guess. Then there's active sound enhancement for the cabin as well, which I don't love the piped-in engine noises, as you guys know, but it's been adjusted for the Nismo. And you get electric power steering to make it feel a little bit sportier, and then tweaks to the air suspension. Brakes also get a little bit of fancying with red painted brake calipers, and those are twin pistons. Up front, you get 13.8-inch rotors that are a little bit thicker than the standard Armada. You can still tow 8,500 pounds, and you get a Class 4 hitch receiver, trailer sway control, integrated brake controller. On the inside, though, it's fancy. So it gets like red suede inserts in the seats, red accents around the dash, which looks super cool. Oh, and don't forget the aluminum pedals that are also part of the Nismo package, and multicolor ambient lighting. Feature-wise, the 26 Nissan Armada Nismo gives you standard equipment that kind of is a mix of SL and Platinum. For example, you get the pano roof, but you only get heated seats, not cooled. But they do offer massaging, so go figure. Anyway, a lot of cool stuff. Stereo is the same excellent 12-speaker clip system that's on the other Nissan Armadas, and you should be able to expect the all-new Armada Nismo to be available at your local dealership sometime in fall. Pricing hasn't been announced. Expect mid-70s or so. Also interesting to note is that the Middle East also gets a Nismo version of their Patrol, which is the same thing as our Armada, but they get 495 horsepower. So why do they get 495 and we only get 460? Well, that has to do with the higher quality gas that's available in the Middle East. So kind of a bummer, but I'm glad we get it. It's cool. So there you go. If you're looking for a big, powerful, sporty SUV, full size, that's going to make a statement, head on down to your local Nissan dealership this fall. Seems like Stellantis is all the rage these days, especially on the Ram truck side. And some of the things that we've been hearing about in terms of the Ram brand over the last few weeks are that Kuniskis plans to revive the brand. Obviously, the V8 move was a big one. And sales since he's come on board are already 16% up in the first quarter. The second quarter looks like they'll be closer to 40% higher. And that means about 25% up mid-year, so which is where we're at now. But at the time of this recording, we don't have the sales numbers yet. And also, they're cutting sales to the rental fleet. They no longer have the Ram Classic, which was the old DS body style on the 1500. So that's hurt them a little bit. Still talking about a mid-sized pickup truck, and that's supposed to be on the way. And it's not just going to be a small pickup to Battle Maverick. It's supposed to be mid-sized, so we'll see. Also, there's 25 product and product-related announcements coming before the end of the year, says Kuniskis, which is incredible, some of which I'm sure we'll highlight here in this episode. Now, people might be asking, well, what about the EVs? Are they coming? And basically, Kuniskis said they have to get there. EVs aren't going away. They need them because of regulations and compliance laws that still exist in some form. So they do need electrification. But they're going to be able to delay the launch so they can get better margins while using the ICE engines to kind of front load their sales and cash flow and things like that. So yes, the electric, especially the extended range EV trucks, are coming, but they're going to be a little bit further down the line than what we had been discussing earlier. And that's all due to strategy, according to the CEO. So another piece of Ram news with Ram trying to get more competitive and show that they're listening to their customers. Tim Kuniskis has also pushed for a new 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. So this warranty is powertrain only, and only is applicable to the original owner. So it's not going to be something that is extended through the secondary used car market. It'll cover engine, transmission, transfer case, drive shafts, differentials, and axles. The previous powertrain warranty, or the current one, I guess, for 25 is 5 years or 60,000 miles. The new warranty will exclude any full electric vehicles like the Ram ProMaster EV, but it'll be applied to the Ram 1500, 2500, 3500, and ProMaster vans, as well as the chassis cabs. And what's interesting is people are keeping their vehicles longer, they're financing them longer. And according to Kaniskis, he says that the warranty is designed to show people that quote unquote Ram is making a stronger and longer commitment to its customers. So basically, people are keeping their trucks 12 years or so now. Everything's gotten more expensive. And Ram wants to make sure that you know that if you're one of those people that buys a car for 10 plus years, then you know that you're going to be covered on the warranty. And Kaniskis knows that when you have a vehicle you're still making payments on your 6th, 7th year, and you have a catastrophic failure, he knows once you lose them, good luck getting them back. So he wants to protect against that. The other thing is every other brand that's building full-size trucks, Ford, Chevy, Toyota, all have a 5-year, 60,000-mile limited powertrain. So this will be one extra thing that says, come look at Ram. So for those of you out there who are excited about the Rivian R2, it's still on pace to standard production in the first part of 2026. And if you've been following them on their Instagram page, they've been doing a lot of teasers of the chassis and things like that. I think another reason that is kind of a interesting point is that it's been confirmed that Volkswagen will use Rivian's R2 platform for all of their future EVs, all of them. So that means Volkswagen will be utilizing Rivian's existing electrical architecture and software platform, as well as the underpinnings of the new R2. And that's pretty interesting. There was recently an article where a Ford executive at a conference said that, he quote, this is Ford Vice Chairman John Lawler, where combustion vehicles defined what a vehicle was, the horsepower, the displacement, the torque, and everything about the vehicle, I think a lot of that is gone now. And he goes on to talk about how people aren't as granular when it comes to vehicles these days. And he says, I think a lot of this sentiment entirely depends on the vehicle segment and type. Sports and enthusiast vehicle buyers will prioritize this, eagerly compare specs, and place a higher value on the overall feel of the engine in their performance vehicles because they intentionally want the most engaging experience behind the wheel. He says pickup truck buyers are similarly driven by those measurable differences, but he goes on, for your common crossover or sedan buyer, the significance of a vehicle's engine behavior, horsepower, torque really isn't as paramount a factor during the shopping process. Instead, there's more of a focus on common wants, like having good acceleration when merging onto the highway, not getting annoyed by a loud, raspy engine noise, or as it relates to today's car shopping scene, improved fuel economy gains and hybridization. So I get that kind of melds into this whole, well, if the average car buyer, electric vehicle, they do feel pretty similar, all the same, why invest in a next generation platform if you can find a partner out there who can help you build your vehicle around their existing architecture? So it'll be interesting to see how much of that comes into play in our truck market, because I don't think any truck buyer is going to be like, I've got a my Ford F-150 body on a Toyota platform or something like that. Don't think we're there yet, but I could see in the consumer cars. So back to the Rivian VW joint venture, Wassim Ben said, Rivian's chief software officer, also he's the co-head of the venture. They're working to help VW expand their EV offerings at a rapid pace. Goes on, so it's really that modular, scalable technology stack that we will take into VW brands, and we'll do it in a way where we still allow each of the brands to express their own identity. Each brand will have their own UI, look, and feel, their own suspension tuning, but underneath the guts of the vehicle will be optimized based on the same technology and software architecture. It reminds me of badge engineering of the 80s, which was done incredibly poorly. I wonder if you overlaid on an EV platform, what that would feel like. It's definitely an interesting premise, but is that going to be enough to differentiate your vehicle from the sea of other very similar vehicles? So if you head on over to The Drive, our buddy Caleb Jacobs did a cool story a little while ago. It's about a group in Australia that took a Ford Ranger Raptor and shoved in the V8. So kilo conversions and performance has created a new supercharged Coyote V8 swap. It takes power from 405 horsepower, 430 pound-feet of torque to 750 horsepower and 670 pound-feet of torque. And there's a Roush blower on top. Also involves a tranny swap to 10 R80, which replaces the 10 R60 in the Ranger Raptor, which is also in the Bronco Raptor and Explorer ST. That sounds like an absolute beast. I wonder if you have enough suspension for that kind of power in that little truck. But the Ranger Raptor, by all accounts, is phenomenal. And I can only imagine that truck with a V8. Now, if that was available here, might move up a slot on my list to replace my vehicle. Just saying. Curious how much? $57,000 on top of the cost of the truck. That's U.S. money. So just to put all in perspective, a F-150 Raptor R is $115,000 here in Australia. That costs $230,000. So you could do this do-it-yourself Ranger Raptor R with this kit, be all in for $125K. I mean, that doesn't suck. That sounds pretty good to me. What do you guys think? Would you take a supercharged V8 in your Ranger Raptor? I don't think anyone listening to this show would say no to that. So if you head on over to IIHS.org, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety recently published a new article talking about blind spots in new vehicles. They said the forward blind zones of 6 top-selling passenger vehicles grew substantially over the past 25 years, and they see a correlation with pedestrian and bicycle fatalities soaring. So they have a comparison technique that they developed, and according to the IIHS, over multiple redesign cycles from 97 to 23, forward visibility within a 10-meter radius fell as much as 58% for 3 popular SUVs. For a top-selling pickup, close proximity visibility declined by 17%. So, of course, they're pumping up their new method that they developed that they say gives researchers a straightforward, repeatable way to assess driver visibility. Past, according to them, researchers who wanted to compare blind zones of different models needed to acquire engineering drawings or position each vehicle in open areas specifically marked with grid lines or cones. And because they were cumbersome, none of these large-scale comparisons were attempted. They said there was an alternative technique that used lasers but didn't capture blind zones created by the side mirrors or a widening at the base of the A-pillars. So their new method relies on computational software and a portable camera rig that can be positioned in the driver's seat at various heights to represent different sized drivers. And the camera rotates 360 degrees. It's a full field of vision, and then the software converts that into a blind zone map. It's interesting to see that that's a focus. I know we've talked on the show before because of the cooling stacks and the capability of these big pickups and vehicles, that there's been a lot of, I don't know if it's, I think there's some hate. I'll go ahead and say hate, but there's also concern amongst people about these big trucks not being able to see pedestrians, kids, bicycles, and it's become a point of contention throughout the regulation side of the industry. I wonder if this helps the cause or hurts the cause. I think anytime you can save lives is good, but will it end up being a tool that removes some level of capability because there's going to be new regulations that are formed around it with this extra data? So anyway, the article is really interesting. If you love engineering and like to get into this kind of stuff, they list all sorts of things. For example, they compare and contrast a couple of vehicles, and they talk about the biggest change in the blind zones due to the higher hood. So if you're somebody who loves this type of kind of a mid-dive, not really deep dive, there's some interesting comparos in here. The earliest version of the Suburban that had been studied was 2000, and drivers were able to see 56% of the area 10 meters in front of them. By 2023, they can only see 28%. You look at the F-150 by comparison, the 97 model, drivers could only see 43% of the forward area within a 10-meter radius, but a 2015 model, it was down to 36%. So anyway, lots of things to unpack from this particular article. Worth a read if you're curious about it. And in some Jeep news, Jeep has finally taken the wraps off the upcoming 2026 Jeep Cherokee, which looks cool. I mean, it's much better than the outgoing model. We owned one of those, and it ended up being a really good vehicle for us, but I never fell in love with the styling. And the new one, definitely more Grand Cherokee-like. It's got more angles, more boxy. Definitely looks a lot better as an expression of what you think a Jeep should look like. The interior's premium, the outside looks premium, and it'll probably be a pretty big seller for them, I would guess. So for you Ford Explorer fans out there, the Timberline has been replaced by the all-new Ford Explorer Tremor, which is their new top dog off-road model. Features an off-road tuned suspension that includes springs, sway bars, as well as a 1-inch lift, and then reshaped bumpers give you a better approach and departure angle. Rolling stock consists of 18-inch wheels with Bridgestone dual all-terrain tires. You get auxiliary lights, orange tow hooks, and of course orange accents, but Ford calls that electric spice. Anyway, under the hood, is the same 3-liter EcoBoost V6 that powers the Explorer ST, 400 horsepower, 415 pound-feet of torque, but you can also get the 300 horsepower 2.3-liter 4-cylinder as an option. All-wheel drive and a Torsen limited slip diff are standard, as well as some underbody protection. However, and this is the biggest glaring omission for me, no low range. When the Explorer in this generation went back to rear-wheel drive architecture and had a true transfer case in it, I'd asked Ford engineers if there was an opportunity for a 2-speed, and they said at that time yes. I thought for sure that the Explorer would go with that 2-speed transfer case. Then you could really compete against the Jeep Grand Cherokee. However, single-speed transfer case, which is probably the most glaring omission in it, especially for a company like Ford that does off-road so well. Anyway, pricing hasn't been announced yet, but expected to sit somewhere in the mid-50s. And while we're on the topic of off-road, Ram has announced the 2026 Ram 1500 Warlock. And this has to be the best bang for your buck, best off-road value in all of full-size pickup trucks. So check this out. You basically get Ram Rebel level capability. We had a very stripped down truck. So starts out with the 3.6-liter Pentastar V6. That brings the MSRP $46,875, so mid-40s. And then, of course, there's a $2,095 destination charge. So 305 horse, 269 pound-feet of torque. And you can still opt for the twin turbocharged 3-liter Hurricane standard output engine for $1,695, or the new 5.7-liter Hemi E-Torque for $2,895 more than the Pentastar. So not only is that cheaper than the price of the Hemi in 2024, which was $3,045, but you also get the Mopar Sport Exhaust standard. So that's pretty cool if you go to the V8. Here's what you get from the off-road stuff. Same stuff from the Rebel. You get the Bilstein shocks, the skid plates, tow hooks, 1-inch lift, electronic transfer case, but you also get more aggressive tires. It only comes as a crew cab with a 5'7" box and 4x4. However, comes standard with a front bench seat. So it's a 6-person hauler, and I guess buckets are probably going to be optional on that. So you can get a Ram 1500 for under $50,000 with a V8, pretty good off-road performance, the 8.4-inch Uconnect, and a bench seat. I'm looking at that truck going, you know what? That might be the sleeper in the marketplace right there. That might be the best truck nobody knows about. So if you're looking for something stripped down, still has all the bells and whistles of keyless entry, power mirrors, cruise control, that kind of stuff, but you don't need leather and you don't need buckets, you don't need a console, you just want to focus on powertrain and chassis and capability, this might be the truck for you. Also, you get a black grille, black painted wheels, LED headlights, so you're not going back to incandescent, black badging, and then if you could do the dual exhaust, you get the black tips, Warlock decals for the hood and bedside, and in addition to the 8.4 Uconnect screen, you also get the 7-inch driver's display as well. And check this out, you can get a leather wrap steering wheel. So it's not like you're not having any of the modern luxuries. Even cruise controls, adaptive cruise control, and you get lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, remote start. I'm thinking that is a hell of a deal for somebody who's looking for a new truck. So again, $46,875, destination charge of $2,095. Sounds like a pretty good deal. So you can go build and price. And I believe that the Rams for 26, the order banks are just open now. And so you should be able to order one of those. And tell me, what do you think? truckshowpodcast@gmail.com. And the Ram news keeps coming. I hate to make this so much about Ram, but man, they're just killing it with news right now. The Ram heavy duty lineup gets a couple of more budget friendly models that mimic the 1500. So let's say you love that Ram 1500 Warlock, but you need more truck. Well, check it out. Ram just announced the 2500 Black Express and Ram 2500 Warlock packages in a 3/4 ton truck. And so the Black Express is a $2,495 option, which brings that truck to $53,735. And that's more sport, street oriented. Or you get the more rugged Warlock package, which is $2,995. That gets that an entry point of $57,165. Both of those prices do include the destination charge. So the Black Express, I think, is going to appeal to a lot of people. Check it out. Diamond black, bright white, silver zenith, vivid flame red. You get the sport performance hood, body color bumpers, 20-inch black wheels, all season rubber, Park Sense front and rear, black cab length side steps. Then you get a cloth bench seat, carpeted floors, matching mats, and then the Ram Power Convex trailer tow mirrors, which are awesome. Those are the mirrors where the convex portions also power. That's a pretty darn well-equipped truck. That comes with the 6.4 liter Hemi, obviously, and it looks great. Great looking truck. Also, Warlock, we just talked about it for $1,500, but on the 2,500, crew cab 4x4 short bed only, black bumpers, grill surround, and fender flares. Warlock bedside decal, 20-inch diamond cut wheels with 34-inch Goodyear Duratrack AT tires, Bilstein shocks, a transfer case skid plate, hill descent control, a lemon slip rear diff, all-weather floor mats, cloth bench, carpeted interior, and then also the Ram mirrors. This seems like the truck for somebody who'd love to have a HD Rebel, but doesn't want to spend all the money or wants it to be dialed back a little bit in terms of creature features. I think the 2500 Warlock would be an awesome choice for a lot of people out there. 6.4 liter Hemi as well. And when you look at it, that price is not bad at all. So Ram is really trying to move some stuff around. And as an option, you can also still get the 6.7 liter Cummins turbo diesel. So 430 horsepower, 1075. And that's got the new 8-speed ZF automatic transmission in it. So Ram is just like, they're killing it right now. Building out the sport truck, affordable side, off-road capable. Every time there's an announcement, it's like, yeah, okay, they're listening. Kudos to you, Mr. Kaniskis. All right, so the J.D. Power survey came out, and this is the one for the initial quality. And this is kind of interesting. So according to J.D. Power, you can go to their website. This is basically the number of problems a new owner has in the first 90 days of ownership, and it's improved slightly overall. Problems per 100 vehicles have improved to 192, which is down from 194 a year ago. Premium brands have improved by 27, what they call PP100 to 203, PP100 from 230 in 2024. So there's a lot of interesting tidbits to pull from here. Amongst them, Lexus still leads the pack, having the highest brand ranking overall with 166 problems per 100 vehicles. Among premium brands, Jaguar ranks second, which is amazing, with 175 and Genesis at 183. Among mass market brands, Nissan ranks the highest in quality. And I gotta tell you, the Aria in my driveway, the trucks I've driven, zero issues, 169 per 100. That's only 3 off of Lexus's mark. So if you're looking for a reliable car, Nissan is right up there with some of the best brands. Hyundai, 173, Chevrolet, 178. If we dig down a little bit, I'll give you the rundown for the trucks here. And so, midsize pickup, highest ranked Hyundai Santa Cruz and Jeep Gladiator, tied with the Nissan Frontier second. Large light duty, highest rank was the Silverado and F-150 tied with the Toyota Tundra in second place. In the large heavy duty pickup truck category, Ford Super Duty was number 1 and Silverado HD was number 2. So lots of stuff to dig out of here, but head over to jdpower.com and you can read all about the new survey. And one last thing to note on the Gladiator, it wasn't the only vehicle that did really well. The Jeep Wrangler ranked second in the compact SUV category, which is silly. It should be midsize, but I don't know how they do that. Anyway, Jeep as a brand jumped 13 points in this study, showing some big progress in previous scores. So that's awesome. Kudos to all the companies who made big improvements and gave us all more reliable, better, easier to use vehicles this past year. All right, let's get into some recall news.
Check engine light just went on. Noise under the hood ticks like a bomb. Recall covers metal, glass, leather, and plastic. Door handle pulled off in my hand. Just fantastic.
Did you guys like that? Did you see what I did there? I went from JD quality right into recalls. A couple recalls this week to talk about. Ford issued a recall for Super Duties with a bad brake pedal. The recall affects the 2025 F-250, 350, 450, and 550. And Ford is warning owners not to drive their pickup trucks. Apparently, some of them have a brake pedal assembly that lacks a retaining spring that secures the brake booster push rod to the brake pedal. And what that does is gives you a floppy pedal and can result in the loss of braking power. Fortunately, the recall only affects 2,345 Super Duty trucks. Apparently, Ford began investigating internally in late May after somebody at their Kentucky truck plant notified the Ford Critical Concern Review Group that there was a missing brake pedal retaining spring on a F-350, and they went back and said, whoa, we got to get on top of this. So if you have one of those trucks, Ford says it's already sending letters in the mail and notifying affected owners. So take your truck in, be safe out there. All right, going to the L87 small block recall. Well, obviously this has been huge with GM and their small block, and they are recalling hundreds of thousands of full-size pickups spanning 21 through 24. The recall, which is on the 6.2-liter V8, addresses a defect in the engine crankshaft and or connecting rods, which could result in catastrophic engine failure. And so a lot of people have been wondering, and they've been reaching out to me, do you think GM's going to replace the engine or do they get repaired? So there's some official guidance that's out there now. And according to GM's official recall guidance, if a dealer determines that an L87 engine is defective, it will be replaced entirely rather than repaired. So as part of this, GM technicians will be relying on two very specialized diagnostic tools to help identify faulty engines. One's called the Picoscope, which is a precision digital oscilloscope, and it's designed to sense engine sensor signals. And then that's going to be paired with a new GM harness that enables very targeted diagnostics specific to the L87. So GM techs will use these tools to determine if the engine's defective. If it is defective, it'll be replaced, not fixed. That takes about 18.2 to 18.6 hours of labor, depending on the vehicle model and drivetrain. So the L87 recall impacts Escalade ESV, Silverado 1500, Suburban, Tahoe, Sierra 1500, Yukon XL. Recall docs estimate that roughly 597,630 of these vehicles are subject to the recall. Although don't freak out too bad, because GM says they're seeing a defect rate of around 3%. That's still 18,000 vehicles nationwide. Globally, 721,000 units, which works out to about 21,500 engines worldwide. So, oh man, that's going to be a tough one. I hate to end the podcast on bad news like that, but that's it for this episode of Have You Heard? So, hey, don't forget to follow us on social at Truck Show Podcast. Shoot us an email, truckshowpodcast@gmail.com, if you have questions or want to discuss any of the news items we talked about here. And leave us a voicemail, 657-205-6105, and you can be on the show. And thanks to our sponsors for supporting the show: AMSOIL, Kershaw Knives, UEM Pistons, of course, OVR Mag. It's been fun. Let's do it again soon.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis, hosted by Sean Holman, and uses production elements by DJ Omar Khan and Jay Tillis. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and leave us a 5-star review. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to support the show than by sharing it and patronizing our sponsors. Some vehicles may have been harmed during the making of this podcast.